Hi there, welcome to the video tutorial of VOLFIX.NET platform. This video is dedicated to the tick bar chart service. This tutorial will help you to know more about main functions and possibilities of the given service. In the upper part of window, as in the rest of the platform services, you can see the control panel. The main functions of this window are put in the red panel. The lower control panel allows to choose a ticker, contracts. Here we talk about futures, date of display, time of display, volume text filter, as well as a standard function, price scale. Choice of price scale tick. Also, we see the line type choice. Let's consider the upper red control panel. The bit_ask function is a unique function relating to the window. When we press this button, we see that all the ticks are painted with one specific color. As you know, in color setting adjustments, standardly called from the context menu activated with the right button mouse click. You can change them. By default, ticks are divided into the red and the green as usual. It doesn't mean the buy or sell. This function of bit and ask separation allows to see the tick direction. Thus, if the current tick is down below the previous one, it's painted in red. There is a concept of down and up ticks. I mean, if the market gone up in relation to the previous price, we think that the buyer acts aggressively. If it's gone down, then the seller does. There is, seller initiated a sale entering the market. I'd like to draw your attention that any deal's volume had its buyer and seller. That's why the tick separation has pretty subjective nature, but it's available in here. Let's switch it off. Next, the second button of control panel is line time. At the moment you see that time scale is divided into irregular intervals, and this is normal for tick chart in such format. I explain why. The quantity of ticks in every time interval, in this case the minute, can differ cardinally. Respectively, the width of every minute of any time interval will not be the same. In order to look at all the ticks in the usual format, if we want the time intervals be the same, we created line time function. Clicking on it and loading the chart, we see that the time graph has become more usual for us, namely the format of equal time intervals, wherein all ticks that were within one certain second are lining up in a single line. Thus, we see that here we got several ticks at the same seconds, but at the different prices. Thus, as if they would add it up, wherein we see the linear picture relating to the time. We'll talk a little later on the purpose of this feature. As you can see, there are some checkboxes with the volume. When the line time function is enabled, the platform allows to filter and show interesting volumes. View down, the connection of audiobook, standard function for all the windows of the platform. Hidden ticks indicates the address transactions. What does it mean? Let's turn it off and look at the lower scale. There are some score of ticks. Let's turn on the standard format. Paint them all with one color. We go back to this feature again. Here we got all the ticks. Having connected hidden ticks function, we see that for today there's only hidden tick. There is the address deal. Address deals are not seen in the audiobook. They are made on exchange but out of audiobook. Usually they got larger volume than the others. Now we see 3033 contracts in the volume of current deal. This deal was made in here. Accordingly, draw your own conclusions. This function is quite useful. Occasionally many popular tours have these hidden ticks. We discuss it more deeply on our webinars. The next function is also presented in this window, as well in bar chart service. Add chart serves for addition of the second instrument row. Primarily, this feature activated changes the control panel. We see that you can choose the second tool in that and its parameters, what allows us to observe how certain instruments are correlated between each other. Here we got $ruble pair futures. As we see, the correlation is multidirectional. For example, let's mix two futures of Sberbank and RTS. The first one is painted with blue color. Let's turn off the time grid as we could see the graph more clearly. We see the pretty huge correlation. Then let's look at another feature of control panel. This is the arbitration delta, the divergence in absolute points, pips, of a given tool. Thus, we see how during a day, in this case we talk about futures of Sberbank and RTS as they present pretty huge correlation. There was a divergence for some number of points. Then these tools converged. And for the moment they are split again. This service is also useful for both observing as well as doing an auxiliary function when searching a correlation or proving certain signals. But firstly, for making arbitrage deals, as we perfectly know that during strong divergence of correlative tools, the probability of their follow emitting, as in here, is high enough. Respectively, having analyzed and used the arbitrage service of our platform in a certain way, you can make arbitrage deals as well. The platform does it not only in terms of the analysis, but to fully do trading operations through accounts of Russian brokers as well as through American brokers with the help of our gateway connection. Call next. Let's turn off the arbitrage screen. Then, let's consider the control panel further. Here we got the setup button, the classical one. It duplicates the common features of the window, what we'll observe in a moment. Window button presents the navigation through the open windows in the platform. Apply button is used for applying all the functions. In the lower control panel, there's also a classical choice of dates and time. We won't tell more about it now. There's a unique function for a given window, volume filter, in relation to text. Say, we don't want to see text with a volume less than 20 lots. Click Apply. As you can see, there is a filtration. The majority of text disappeared. If we put 0 in the given line, then we'll see all the text without exception. Let's go next. Let's consider the context menu, which is called by right mouse button click. The volume limit function sets the very same volume limits for text. In this case, I've got 400 and 200 lots. What does it mean? If the tick volume will exceed 400 lots, then it will be painted with the red color. If the tick volume exceeds 200 lots, but not more than 400 lots, it will be painted with the green respectively. Moving back to the second chart, I'd like to notice that the filter function is also available for it. Under the volume limit function, we see add volume limits. It means the additional limit filter for the second chart. On the same principle, we set the given limits. Volume alert can also be set for triggering. You'll see the checkbox on certain limits. Max volume color. What is this function for? First, Tick max volume. This feature indicates the value of maximum tick in the selected interval. Let's take a minute, click Apply. In order to see more clearly where we got the minutes, let's enable the time grid and stretch the chart. Let's change the colors on the brighter. We see the ticks painted with a certain color in every minute. Where the tick volume exceeded 200 lots, we see the tick painted with red. Either on the darker one, if the volume limit value has not been achieved. Max interval volume. For those who limited on moment or uses not multi-monitor systems, those will find this feature useful enough. Thus you got a possibility to select maximum volumes on the tick chart of any period, 1 minute, 5, 15, 30, 60, etc. We will do that on 15-minute interval. Having appointed two colors, this bright red color will indicate the cumulative volume of 15 minutes exceeding 1,500 contracts, and dark red less than 1,500 contracts. Click Apply. What do you see? We see that strip ticks on 15-minute intervals, separated with pink dotted line, have become varicolored. Here we see the 15-minute from 13:30 till 13:44. Its maximum volume was at the price of 130,600 and exceeded 1,500 contracts. During the following 15-minute as well as the current one, the maximum volume was at the same price, but for now it hasn't exceeded 1,500 contracts, taking into account that the current 15-minute is coming to the end. And so forth. Having squeezed, we see the maximum volume not only per tick, but also 15 minutes. If you want to, you can change it for 5 minutes and so on. Current max volume. We can see the current volume, for the last 5 or 15 minutes. We see it painted with the green. If we pay attention, we set 1000. Thus, the volume of current 5 minutes hasn't exceeded 1000 contracts. Now its place here. Naturally, it can change within 5 minutes. So, it is the last current value of the maximum volume of the selected time period. Switch off all filters and continue to learn the context menu. Open close color. This function is rarely used. It serves for the researching goals of finding key values of volumes at the beginning and at the end of solidly minute intervals. Thus we see the open max volume, the volume at the beginning. By default, here we got from 0 till the 29 seconds, and the closer volume, the second half of a minute, is from the 30 till the 59. You can experiment with these intervals using seconds, but we'll consider those set by default. We see the high limit of 400 lots, low limit of 200 contracts. Accordingly, the same for the second half of a minute. Click Apply and see what you got. We see that at the beginning and the end of different minutes, ticks are somewhere painted with a certain color. What does this mean? For the 15th minute of the 13th hour at the price of 130,650, the cumulative volume of the first 30 seconds exceeded 400 contracts. Here we see the tick of 460 and it was found here. This is necessary for analyzing the speculative inputs in the markets. Turn off this function and go further. Filter of horizontal histogram are the sidebar graph of the volume. How does it work? put the value of 8,000 and 5,000 contracts. Here we got the color changing of horizontal histogram. The maximum values exceeding 8,000 contracts are recolored. There are only two of them. The maximum value is painted in its own color. The second value exceeding 8,000 lots is painted in red, wherein the volumes exceeding 5,000 contracts are indicated with blue. Let's put 0 in here and switch this filter off. Next, the vertical histogram. That is the lower. From below we see the sticks displaying the volumes of every tick. As I said before, we will come back to it. There are several types of displaying. The volumes will differ with colors, but if we select full type of the lower histogram, it will be displayed with one common color. If you press buy, then we see the ticks going to the growth. Two previous ticks were below and the third one is for buying. It starts the moving. Before we had flat, then it became the third, thereby being painted in its certain color. If it's a sell, then only the red will be displayed. The principle of displaying is the same. Here we see the red tick. Two previous are at the top, the third is down and it's painted in red. Respectively buy, sell, both variants. Neutral ticks are shown in gray, are the ticks that weren't initiating and there was no movement at the time. We are on a break at the moment on Retool. Let's go further. Volume fixing function. As in box chart, the given function allows to fix the volume during selected interval for its certain part. Here you see, I chosen 5 minutes. We got from 0 till the 4th, thus for the whole period. For example, I'd like to select from 0 till the 2nd minute to watch the first part of the 5th minute. The volumes which exceeded the cumulative volume of 500 lots. Let's select the red color and click apply. What we got here, we see that at several 5 minutes, where the volume of a period from 0 till the 2nd minute exceeded 500 contracts, there's an allocation of this period with a certain color. Similar, you see that you can set up 5 variants like this. Say 1500 contracts in the first 7 minutes of our 15th minute. Click apply. Here we see that in some places those volumes are indicated with the blue color. There are more rare. See, at the beginning of the 15th minute we can watch the volume appearance. As well as at the beginning of 5 minutes, this level became reference. Once again, you can choose up to 5 values. Anyway, I don't recommend you to much clutter up your chart, otherwise you get confused in colors and values. Scale setup. The setting of left and right scales. You can display the volumes for certain periods. In the left scale for the last 30 minutes. We see that the left chart scale stepped away and we see the values appeared. Also the last volume of 5 minutes from the right. We see that 30 minutes and 5 minutes coincide as the count goes from 40 o'clock, so the volumes look similar. But over time the volumes will change here and accumulate in there. From the very beginning of the next 5 minutes, the data will be updated from the right, and they begin to accumulate anew. In the left scale, we'll see the cumulative volume of the current 30 minutes. In order to disable it, we click NI, then Apply. Data disappeared. Options button is the standard settings in the current window. They don't differ from the others. Color settings button is the color adjustments. Exactly the same, you can set the color perception for yourself. Symbol lookup button is a standard searcher of symbols. The only difference is if you connect the second shot, there will be the additional symbol lookup. You can search both in here for the first ticker as well the ticker of the second row. Lines button is copy and paste some lines. Simulator connection. Stay the window on the top of the others, as well as the Save Snapshot button. I've already said about the line type. It's set the same way as in other windows. That's all on the given type of chart for today. Watch the rest of the videos dedicated to our platform. Good luck in trading. Cheers!